My name is Sean, and OCD makes me ask tormenting what-if questions every day about the things that I care most about. So my first memory with OCD was way back when I was 13 years old, and I was alone in my room in a bedroom. It was a Monday night, and it was during the winter, and it was really dark and very cold. An intrusive thought popped into my head about harming my father that came out of nowhere. And the intrusive thought for the first time made me think and start to analyze and ask, what if? Not only what if that actually happens, what if I'm a bad person? The what ifs really encapsulated everything that was horrible about that moment and that night. And since that point in time, basically the night that I call the beginning or the turning point, my OCD kept getting worse and worse, especially with the what if thoughts. So OCD first manifested in me in terms of intrusive thoughts, and it really grabbed hold of my mind and the way that I felt about myself. And at first, there weren't a lot of initial compulsions involved. But as it progressed and as I continued to not talk about things because they were so scary, these compulsions and rituals, both mental and physical, started to manifest in my behavior, in my every day-to-day actions, in sports, in artwork, in high school. And this is when I was very, very young. So it went from an initial intrusive thought to how to neutralize or how to convince myself in a way that that wasn't true. The way that I responded was to do a neutralizing compulsion or ritual, whether it was physical, like having to put on my shoes over and over and over again. For some reason, if I put my right shoe on before my left shoe, that convinced me that I wasn't a bad person that day. If I thought about possibly harming someone that I cared about, I would have to immediately think about doing something positive for that person. I went through high school this way, and it started to affect grades. It started to affect my sports. It started to affect my artwork. So I was a prolific artist. I wrote and drew comics. It started to become so bad where I couldn't put pencil to paper anymore, because if I made the wrong mark with my pencil and it didn't feel right, or if I had a thought at the same time that was happening that was disturbing, if that happened at the same exact moment, I'd have to redo it again and again, and I would have to do it again. Those compulsions took it into avoidance, and I just didn't do it at all. So I lost artwork. Same with academics. The way that things were set up in high school is that you had to have a certain GPA to play sports, and I couldn't keep that GPA up because I wasn't turning in my homework. I wasn't able to study. Grades came down, and I was a smart kid. Nobody understood it. It was the biggest mystery. Like, what is up with Sean? I wasn't saying anything because of the stigma. There's no way I'm going to tell anybody that I'm having or thoughts about harming someone. And the only way that I got through all this stuff is pure avoidance of life and everything about it. I was social, but I self-medicated. I partied and stuff like that. However I can make these intrusive thoughts subside and get less noisy was what I did. When I was 30, I turned 30, and life had passed me by. The what ifs, the intrusive thoughts, the mental and physical rituals that I was doing, they took up every moment of my time. From the time that I got up in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, or I slept until noon, whatever, till at night, was taken up by ruminations of why I was having these intrusive thoughts and the rituals I was doing to neutralize them. So I was actually stuck in a chair for 2 years straight. It finally got to the point where I had to make a decision. I finally made a decision when I was 32. I had enough of this. I finally betrayed my own promise to myself that I wouldn't talk about it, and I finally decided that I needed to talk about it. And I went to my father, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And again, I had no clue that this was OCD. I had not been treated for OCD. My insight was so poor that I thought that I was these things, these what if thoughts, I thought were absolutely 100% true. I decided to put that all up and put it away, and I asked for help for the first time in my life when I was 32. And my father and I started this journey. It took me about 22 years to find the correct treatment for OCD. In retrospect, looking back, I can see now that I had OCD symptoms back when I was like 9 or 10 years old. Small little things that I would do, checking rituals about my mother. I was really super concerned about my mom's health. I was concerned about my dad's health. I was concerned about my family's health. And I remember looking back when I was 9 or 10, and like, oh, that's really when kind of all this started. I remember being like that. It was about a 22-year journey for me. What if I'm an imposter? What if it's not perfect? What if I'm not good enough? They're less impactful to me than what they were before treatment. They still kind of come in and kind of poke their heads into my mind and say, what's up? And I say hi to them back, and they go away. Now that I've seen what life can be, now that I've gotten treatment and have had a new sense of hope, now I'm allowing this different set of what ifs in. What if I can do this? What if I am worthy? What if I succeed? What if I can live this life? What if there's hope? This is newness in my life that I really appreciate. What I've gotten from my experience with OCD has been a sense of resiliency, a sense of community that I didn't know was there, a sense of support that I didn't realize was going to have my back, a sense of trust that I was able to actually take risk in and invest in trust in other people, and not pushing me away or rejecting me for my journey and what I've gone through. It's interesting. OCD has kind of, in a way, given me a new perspective on life, in that I know the bad. I know where it was really bad, and that's where I was rigid, and that's where I was black and white, and that's where I wasn't willing to have uncertainty in my life. But because of the nature of that and how horrible that made me feel, and how it took so much from me in my life, it forced me to change and to grow and to mature. And it's allowing uncertainty in my life, no matter how hard that is. It's kind of the name of the game in life, is right? Uncertainty, and what we do with that. We're all uncertain. We're all uncertain human beings. It's very difficult. Everything is a risk and a challenge in decision making. But I've grown this confidence from my transformation that I can have uncertainty and make decisions and have it work out okay. Maybe not all the time, maybe just some of the time, but that's enough. And I've been able to accept that. When having the conversation about OCD in general, hope is one of those tough things to talk about, because when I was in it, I was convinced, black and white, that there was no hope. There was nothing. It was just blackness. I had felt that I had lost my agency. I had lost my control in my life. And it's easy for me to say now, looking back. But what I didn't know then was that hope was there. There was light that was there. I just needed to be able to take the risk and take the chance on that there's the other side to this. And that's where I finally got, was, in a way, reclaiming agency in my life, and in a way taking control and creating my own hope out of a dark situation. It's very easy for us when we're really struggling especially in a dark place, to not think that hope exists. When I ever go back to those dark places, what I remind myself is that it's there. That I can put on a different lens and look at the situation maybe differently and walk back out from the dark into the light. I think that research for OCD, in the field of OCD treatment, whatever research, whatever arena it is for OCD, I think is crucially important, because we're still learning about the way the OCD works. We're still learning about the best ways to treat OCD for each person. Each person is different. So to be able to study OCD, to be able to provide new treatments, to be able to implement new modalities, new medications, new medicines, whatever, very, very, very important, because I'm a big believer that information and education in this is very, very important. The more informed that I am, the more informed that society is, the more informed that someone who is suffering is, I think the easier that they're going to have in letting some new treatment into their life. If there's more information, if there's more education, if there's more data around that, I think it's going to help people who are battling OCD so much more. Help them accept things in their life when sometimes the last thing they want is help. They're scared. So any kind of peace of mind that research and science can give that person is so crucially important. Because of my OCD, my brain likes to throw scary what-if questions at me every single day. But what if you're not alone? What if research brings hope?